Hi everyone. In this video today we're going to look at how to produce a very basic web page, and the web page you're going to produce is the one that we have in front of us now, and it's about lions, and we can see we've got some information about the lions, where they live, we've got some images, and we've got a hyperlink here at the bottom. We're going to look at that a little bit later. So let's get started. The first thing I want you to do, or that you should have done in the lesson, is you should have downloaded some some files from your ICT team. So we're going to go to Files, I'm going to go to Programming, and we're going to go to something called Intro, because you'll be introduced to web design, and we are going to download this one. So we're not going to open it in Teams, so we're not going to open this in Teams like I've just done. What we're going to do instead is we're going to download it, and I'm going to show you how to download it. So we're going to say click here on the right hand side. There's an option that says download. Now what it does is, depending on whether you've got a Windows or a Mac, well actually it doesn't make a difference, it will download it into your downloads folder. So we've got to make sure we find that quickly. So it should be in downloads, and here it is, information lions. And what we're going to do is we are going to we're going to move it, and we're going to move it to our ICT folder. And what we're going to do in ICT is, in the lesson I've also asked you to create a folder in ICT called Programming and Intro. So we're going to do that quickly. So new folder, Programming, okay, and I'll create another one inside it called Intro. Okay, and the Word document that was in downloads, this one, I'm going to cut, and I'm going to go back to my ICT Programming Intro, and I'm going to paste it. Okay, and there it is. So we're going to open this up, and when we open it up in Word, first of all you're going to be given an error message, not an error message, a warning to say, do you want to open this in protected view? No, we just want to enable editing, so make sure you click on this always, because that means you can edit the document. Right. Now what we've got is basically what your website needs to look like. It needs to look something like this. So we need this information, and we're going to use this information in our website. Alright, so let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to open up VS Code. Okay, and you installed that during the lesson. So you need to open up VS Code, and we're going to click on something that says New File, because we're going to open up a new file. And when we open a new file, get up this selection here at the top, and what we're going to do is we're going to click on File here. We're not going to click on anything in here. We're going to click on File, and it's asked what language do we want to program in, and we say we're going to program in HTML. So you can either scroll down to HTML, or we can type in here at the top, just a little bit quicker, HTML. There it is. I'm going to click on that. So now we can program we can program our website, because our website works on a programming language called HTML, and we're going to use that today. Okay, so first I want you to do is to save your work. I'm going to say File, I'm going to say Save. Now this part is very, very important. Okay, so we're going to go to your ICT folder, which we just created earlier, Programming, Intro, and what I'd like you to do is I want you to save it by first typing your name. So I'm going to type my name, okay, and I'm going to put Lion Webpage, and so you need to put your name, Lion Webpage. Now what's really important, when it says save as type, you need to make sure it says HTML, not text, not any of this. It must say HTML, okay, like that, and then we say save. Alright, so now, believe it or not, we have our web page, so I can type in here quickly, hello to my web page. Okay, I'm going to save it, File, Save, or Control S. Okay, and now if I go to my folder, the intro one, you'll see here it is, Mr. Exton's Lion web page. Now if I double click on that, it will open in Chrome. You can see here it says hello to my web page. Not very interesting, but there it is. Okay, so I'm going to keep this open, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work on my VS Code, and I'm going to try in stages to get it to look like this one. Okay, so we're going to try that quickly. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to delete what I had earlier. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go to my Word document, and in my Word document what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this information and just copy and paste it into my HTML file. So I'm just going to take that, I'm going to copy it, right click, copy. I'm going to go to VS Code, right click, and paste. Now what you'll notice is it didn't make paragraphs, it's just pushed everything here towards the right. And if I scroll here, you can see everything's gone there. So I don't actually have paragraphs, it's not created paragraphs. So what I'm going to do is there's a shortcut that will allow me to see everything. So it's Alt L, or we just save it Control S, and then it will create the paragraphs. If it doesn't, there is a shortcut for it, and we'll look at the shortcut in a second. Alright, so now I can press Control S, I've saved it. I can go to my web page, and you can see it doesn't come up, it doesn't show what I have here. The reason for that is because we didn't refresh. So if we refresh the page, and there we go. Now it doesn't look anything like this one, because what we haven't done is we haven't told, we haven't instructed the HTML, put any programming language in here to tell the web browser, and the web browser is Chrome, what these things are. So I need to actually tell it, alright, this here's a heading, this is another heading, maybe a subheading, this is a paragraph, and so on and so on. So I need to actually tell my web browser what these things are, because at the moment the web browser just sees this as information and it just puts it all in, and it's not changing the color, it's not putting it as headings, it's not making paragraphs. So we need to actually tell the web browser what to do. Okay, so these things we're going to insert now is something which is called elements. Okay, elements or tags. So we have a couple of elements, and the elements we're going to look at first is what's called a header element, and the next one we're going to do is called a paragraph element. Okay, and all elements have what's called a starting tag and an end tag. All right, so basically I need to tell my web browser, all right, my header starts here and it finishes here. All right, so what I do is to say where it starts, I'm going to use these signs, this syntax. I'm going to say h1, okay, and to show where it ends, I need to type in exactly the same, but the difference I put a forward slash and h1, like that. So I'm going to take this and put it into my HTML file. Alright, so let's do this quickly. Okay, so h1, close bracket, and you'll see what it does is it actually, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, hopefully I can zoom in. View, I want to make this a bit bigger so it's easier to actually see what we're doing. Anyway, we'll make it bigger later. So what you'll notice is that the starting tag and the end tag is together. So if I save that and I go to my web page, you'll see that's not actually done anything different. And the reason for that is because actually the word lion needs to be between these. So I'm going to cut that. I'm going to put it in between, paste it, and now if I go back and refresh it, you can see, just save my work. You can see it now knows that this is a header. Now if we look very carefully, we'll see that we have subheaders as well. My introduction is a subheader, where did lions live is a subheader, and so on. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do some additional headers. Now instead of header 1, we're going to call this header 2 and header 3. So let's just do it quickly. So now HTML will make it a little bit, or VS Code makes it a little bit easier for me. I don't have to type all the syntax like this. It actually gives me something what's called predictive text. So if I go just above my subheader and I type H 2 and I press enter, it will create the starting tag and end tag for me automatically. Now the problem is if I type it next to it like here, it won't actually put in the predictive text. Okay, actually does. So you could put it there. So we're going to take this, we're going to cut it, I'm going to paste it. I'm going to do exactly the same here. I'm going to do H3. Cut that. That's my starting tag. This is my end tag. I'm going to save my work and let's go back and let's refresh. And you can see I have my heading and my subheadings. Now, something you'll notice is that H2, the font size is smaller than H1. And if I do H3, the font size is smaller than H2. So I'm sure you can sort of imagine that if I do H4 and H5 and H6, those headings will be even smaller. Now, you might be tempted, and actually it's not a big problem, but you might be tempted to actually say this is H2, this is H2, and continue with H2, so they're all the same size. But actually, we tend to keep them as they are. For now, we're going to do each subheading will have its own number. Okay, so if we make another line here and we go back to our Word document, we need to add some additional information. Now we can't do the pictures, so don't copy any of the pictures. The additional information we need is where did lines live, and we can do what do they eat. We can copy that, and again, you don't copy the pictures, and we can paste that in, save my work, and I can do exactly the same. So this is H4, that's my starting tag. I'm going to move my end tag to the end, and let's do the next one, supporting lines around the world, copy that, I'm going to go down here, paste, I'm going to put H5, and I'm going to move that to the end. Alright, let's save our work, refresh my web page, and you can see we've got our titles, subheadings, or headings, subheadings. Going further down, you can see it gets smaller and smaller. Now again, don't worry about it being smaller. We're going to adjust that a little bit later in a sort of different way. So we're just going to leave that as it is. Okay. Alright, now the next step we need to do is, I've said to you earlier that we also have a header element, but we also have a paragraph element. And you can see here header is H, paragraph, if you had to guess, is P. So it's exactly the same. And all we're going to do is type this in. So let's have a look where my paragraphs are. Now you can see it's already created paragraphs, but actually I need to tell my web browser this is a paragraph. Okay, I've got to actually tell it. It might, and even when I put it in, it doesn't make a big difference in terms of the appearance, but it's important that I actually say, all right, this here is a paragraph. So I type P, gives me my start and end tag, paragraph starts there, and my paragraph ends there. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to repeat that for all the paragraphs, and you can do it in your own time. You can forward a little bit if you want. Okay, we've got a couple more to do. Alright, and I think last one. There we go. Okay, brilliant. So now if we go back, I've saved my work. If we go back and I refresh, you see nothing's different. But the browser knows now that this is a paragraph because you've told it it's a paragraph. And it's important that we actually define what it is. Okay. Now, our next step is to actually insert some images, okay, into our picture. Now, there's something else I've noticed that's different as well. So let's just have a quick look. Okay. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do now is, or what I would like to do, is if you look very carefully at my web page, we can see that the distance between my header and my paragraph is the same as the distance here. And I don't actually like that. We want to increase that. We don't really want this gap to be the same as that gap. So what we're going to do is we're going to create what's called a line break. We're going to create a line break. Now a line break just adds another line to my web page, so it creates additional lines. Now a line break does not have, it's only got a starting tag, and it looks like that, but it does not have what's called an end tag. It does not have that one, so we don't need to insert that one. We just need to insert the break. So what I would like to do is I'm going to have maybe 2 lines between this paragraph and this title, 2 lines between this paragraph and this title, and so on. So let's just do that quickly. Okay. Okay, so we want 2 lines here. So we type in BR, which means break, and I can do 2 lines, BR break, and after each paragraph I can do BR break. Now, before we do the rest of it, let's just save that and I'll show you what it looks like. So have a look here and see how that changes the appearance of my web page. Looks a little bit different. And we're going to do 2 more here. And we're going to leave that. Save our work. Let's have a quick look if we're happy with it. Brilliant. Okay, now another thing we didn't download earlier, which we're going to do now, is we need our images. And normally I would ask you to go find your own images and save them and so on. But this time I'm actually going to give you the images, because it's going to be a little bit quicker if I give you the images. So I'm just going to quickly take zebra, map, warthog, and buffalo, and I'm going to move that into teams very quickly. Alright, so let's just do that. Move that into teams. And I'm just going to change the name for this one because it'll make it a little bit easier. Alright, so what you need to do is each one of these needs to be downloaded. So download, 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 and my buffalo download. There we go. And again, if we go to our downloads folder, you'll see the images are there. So I'm going to take these images, we're going to say cut, and we're going to go to our ICT folder where we've got programming, intro, and we're going to paste it in here. There we go. All right. So now this next step is actually quite challenging, because if you've got a Mac, it's going to be quite difficult to do the next step if you've got a Mac. And the reason for that is in a Windows, what we're going to do is to insert these images into my web page. What I need to do is I need to tell Visual Studio where these images are. So I need to actually tell it, all right, the image is in this folder called Documents, ICT, Programming, and Intro. And I may need to do a separate video to show, if you're a Mac user, how to do that. Or I might show you in the lesson. I might show you within the lesson. But anyway, so let's go back to HTML. And we're going to look at where the map needs to go. So in VS Code, we're going to go to, if we look very carefully at my website, the first picture is a map of where lines were found historically and where we find them today. So you can see there's large areas where lines have disappeared, and there's much smaller areas now where we find the lines. So we're going to insert this image into our map. So it says where did lines, it's actually say where do lines live. But anyway, so we're going to put that just after this paragraph. So let's go to VS Code. It says here I'm going to change that. Where do lines live? And we're going to go, here's a paragraph, and underneath the paragraph we're going to put, a paragraph is here. So I'm going to put my image underneath the paragraph. Now, the image element, it's going to go here. The image element has also only got a starting tag. It does not have an end tag. Okay, so to insert my image, again, VS Code is pretty good. We can just type in image. So image abbreviation IMG for image. I click enter, and it gives me two options here at the bottom. It says to me, okay, first of all, SRC means source. It means where can I find the image? All right. So what we've got to do is we've got to go to the folder where the image is kept, and the folder is this intro one, and we're going to tell it to take this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here in the top, and this is actually telling me the location of where the image can be found. So I'm going to copy that and go to my source code, to VS Code, and I'm going to paste it in there. Alright, so let's save that quickly and see if my image has loaded. It's not loaded. You can see nothing has appeared here, nothing's come up. Now the reason for that is what I've done is I've said to VS Code where to find the image, but I haven't told it the name of the image. So the name of the image is map, and it's a PNG. So watch carefully what I do. I click here at the end, I put a backslash, okay, then I put map.png, because here it says map and it's a PNG file. So map.png. Alright, and I'm going to save that. Don't worry about this for a second. I'm going to go to my web page, click refresh, and you can see, first of all, you can see it's there, which is great, but it's huge. Okay, so there's a couple of changes we need to make. Now, the next thing we need to do is this section here says alternative. Now, alternative means, okay, if I can't find the image or there's an error, what do you want me to put in there as an alternative? So I'm going to put in there map of where lines can be found. So I'm going to make a mistake here deliberately. I'm just going to make a mistake. So you can see the name is wrong. So when it tries to find this image, it's not going to be there, but it's going to display that. So let's do that quickly. Save it. Click refresh. And you can see there. All right, there's an error. I can't find the image, but it should be an image of a map of where lines can be found. So it's just replacing the image with that text. So it's really important we put it in. All right, but let's fix that quickly. So map. All right. Now, as I said, the image. Did I save it? No, I didn't. Let's save it. Refresh. Now the image is too big, so let's make it smaller. And to make it smaller, all we're going to do is we're going to click here before this bracket here. We're going to do a space, and we're going to say either change the height or the width. I'm going to change the height. Okay, I'm going to click enter, and we're going to say the height. We're going to make 100 pixels, 100 px. Now that might be too small, so let's have a quick look. I'm not sure, and refresh, and it's way too small. So we can make that bigger. So let's say 500 perhaps. 500. Save that. Refresh, and that's a little bit better. Brilliant. So now we've got one image in here, and it's just underneath my paragraph, where do lines live? And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the images that we had on our web page, which are the buffalo, the zebra, and the warthog. So I'm going to insert them now, but if you want to pause the video and you want to try yourself and then see the rest of the video to see if you've done it correctly or if there's anything to change, then feel free to do so, and then you can come back. Otherwise, you can just follow what I do and maybe pause it after I've done the first one, and you can try the second and third one. It's really important that you try this on your own. So let's get in with it quickly. Alright, so what do they eat? So I'm going to scroll all the way down. Here's the end of the paragraph. Okay, so what is the image element? Okay, it only has a starting tag, not an ending tag. So image is img. Click enter, ask me where can I find it, and I go back to my folder, click here at the top, I say copy, okay, and I'm going to say paste, which is here. And the first one to do is the buffalo, so I need to check the name for the buffalo, so buffalo JPG, so buffalo.jpg. Make sure spelling is correct. If the spelling is wrong, then it won't work. And alternative, we can just put here buffalo. Okay, all right, let's see if that's correct. Ah, it's there, but it's huge. So let's change the image size. So let's say a height, let's say 200 pixels. I think that might be too big as well, but let's have a look. No, that's right. Okay, now to make it a little bit quicker, what I can do, because the folder location is the same and the rest of it is the same, I can just copy that. Okay, I can just copy that and I'm going to paste it. Okay, I'm going to paste it. And all I need to change is the name of the image. So the next image, I think, is a zebra. So zebra, and it's a JPEG, not a JPG. So we're going to go in here, zebra dot JPEG, and that's not a buffalo, that's a zebra. Okay, save that, and let's just go. I think I'm going to have two buffaloes now, but anyway, save it, refresh. Okay, now it says there's a problem with the zebra, so let's see what we did wrong. Let's see what we did wrong. Did we do the spelling wrong? Ah, we did here. It's not JPG, it's JPEG. Okay, and whilst I'm here, let's do the warthog. Warthog 2. Okay. Warthog -2, and I think it's JPG, so that's fine. There we go, and that is a warthog. Save that. Okay, let's refresh my web page, and there we go. There's my images. Excellent. All right. So if you want, it would be good practice maybe if you put a fourth picture in here, maybe a giraffe, a picture of a giraffe, or a hippopotamus, a hippo. See if you can practice putting an image in here. I might also want to have a line break here, so we can maybe put another break in after paragraphs. So maybe just break, save that, and let's have a quick look if that's a little bit better. It's a little bit better, it gives a bit of space there. Okay, now we're going to do two more things and then we've finished with this tutorial. And the two things we're going to do is we're going to change the font type here. Okay, and we're also going to change the size of the font, and we're also going to change the information here. Now, something else I want you to look at is that when we look at our web page, we have a file name here at the top. Okay, and I'm just going to change that a little bit. So let's get started by actually changing the top here. Now, something I want to quickly introduce you to as well is that usually my web page, there's a few things missing from my web page. Or from our HTML file. There's something called metadata, which is missing, and my HTML file is usually divided into two areas. It's divided into what's called, let's just do this quickly, what's called the head and the body. Now at the moment you can't actually see that here. This is basically the body. The body is what I actually see on the web page. It's the content, it's the images, it's the text. And what we put in the head section is what these images should look like, what the text should look like, etc. So now we're going to work on this area here. So there's something that's missing from my HTML. We're going to have to create some space here because we haven't actually allocated the head and body. So watch carefully what I do. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to create some space here at the top. Okay, I click here and I'm going to put exclamation mark and I'm going to click enter. Now the moment I do that, it all looks a little bit confusing, but I want you to focus on the section here that says head. Okay, you can see something that says here head, body, and HTML. So HTML here at the top and scrolls down. So what we're going to do is this section that says body, everything that we did down here from the header all the way down to the bottom needs to go into this body section, because remember what we said, we have a body and this is what we've been working on as the content that needs to go in the body section, so we're going to put that in there. And what we're going to do now is we're going to work in the head section. You can see the head, there's the starting tag. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, so here's the starting tag, here's the end tag. And what we've got to do is in this section, we are going to change the appearance of my headings and of my paragraphs. Okay, so let's do this quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put some code in HTML that will tell the web browser I'm now going to change the appearance of my text. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type the word style. Okay, and style has a starting tag and an end tag, so I'm just going to now work in between these. And what I'm going to style first is I'm going to do the heading first, so H1. Okay, I'm going to put a curly bracket, and the styling has to be in between this curly bracket. Alright, so let's do font color first. And what I'm going to do is just type the word font, space, and actually not font color, it's just color. So I'm going to put color, and I'm going to choose the color red. Okay, so let's save my work. And if I go to my web page, okay, and I click refresh, you can see my title is red. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of my subheadings to purple. So let's see, if you want to try it on your own, you can, but otherwise you can watch me do this and then you can just copy me. So H2, I need to put a curly bracket, and I'm going to change the color to purple. Okay, let's see if that's worked. H2, just make sure we save our work. H2, this is heading 2, and you can see it's purple. Red, purple, black. Okay, so to make it a little bit quicker, what I can do is I can just copy that, and I can paste it, and say that's H3. I can paste it, I can say it's H4, and I think it goes up to H5. Yeah, goes up to H5. So let's do H4 and H5. Okay, let's save my work. Okay, refresh. And you can see all my subheadings are the same. Alright, so we're going to do 2 more changes and then we finish for today. We're going to change the font type and the font size. So let's do this quickly. Okay, so font size, we're going to type font and then size. And H1, now you have to play around with this a little bit. So if we say 40 pixels, okay, and we save that. Let's have a quick look how big 40 pixels are. So 40 pixels is bigger than what it was, and that's okay. So if this is 40, I would like to make sure that these ones are all the same. So I'm going to save, if that's 40, we could say that's 30 perhaps. Let's say 30. So I'm going to copy this again to make it easier. Okay, I'm going to paste it there. I'm going to say font 30. And this time I'm just going to copy this part next to each one and paste it, and paste. Save my work, and let's have a quick look. So refresh, and if you think that's too big, which maybe it is, you can go back and you can change it. I think it's too big, so I'm going to change it quickly. Alright, and then last one, we're going to change the font type, and then we're finished for today. Now font type is a little different because it doesn't say font type. Actually the element for it is family. So we say font family, okay, and you can choose whatever font you want. You can play around with it and see what the font looks like, but let's take Verdana for example. Verdana. Okay, and save that, and let's have a quick look what that looks like. So that's going to be Verdana. Let's have a look. Oh, that's not too bad. And we can change each one to Verdana if we want. And we can just copy that again. Paste, 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 and last one paste. Okay, and there we go. And we've got one more thing to do, then we're finished. Let's just check that the title. All right, we want to change the font size for the paragraphs and the font type. So outside the curly bracket, we do exactly the same. Instead of H, we type P for paragraph. Okay, and then we put curly bracket, press enter, and we just do exactly the same. We're going to keep the color as black, so we're not going to change that. We're going to say the font size, I think needs to be, it was 20, so maybe 13. Let's have a quick look, 13 pixels. And we're going to say the font family is, we could try something else if you like. So let's try Arial. Arial. Okay, save my work. Let's go back, refresh the page, and there you go. I think that's too small, so let's make that a bit bigger. Let's say 17. And there we go. You have now created a very, very basic website or web page, which includes paragraphs, headings, images, and line breaks. Now, one more thing we'll probably do next lesson, because you should also be able to do that, but I will demonstrate it in the next lesson, just to help a little bit, is we need to create hyperlinks here. And the other problem we've got as well, if we look very carefully, we should have our two sort of separated like this on two different lines. We might do that quickly because that's quite easy to do. So we're going to go down all the way to the bottom, and we're going to put each one of these in its own paragraph. Or actually, there's something else I'll introduce you. It's called the div. It divides it. So div. I'll just put it there. I'm going to do the same here. Div. Okay, and let's just see what that looks like. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Yeah, it does. It puts on different pages. The only problem we have now is you can see that because the div, the font is not the same as that, because we haven't actually specified here in the top what the div should look like. And we could do that quickly. We just do that copy. And we can say div. Save it, and let's have a quick look. There we go, and that's all fine. Okay, well done.